Principles of diagnostic motion evaluation include the following. When a person is performing an ADL, or active or passive range of motion, the therapist needs to observe where the motion lacks fluidity. That means that motion should be initiated at a particular point, and that motion should be fluid and sequential through each anatomical structure, from where the motion is initiated to where it ends. So I like thinking about a stack of dominoes. In this picture, we have 8 dominoes. After domino 1 falls, then domino 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. That is the same type of fluid motion that should occur in our body. We, I think, are taught this when we're looking to evaluate the spine, the vertebra of the spine. We want to see movement through each vertebra sequentially. We don't want to see movement occurring at, let's say, cervical level 2 and then moving right to cervical level 7. We've not moved through 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what is going to happen is probably hypermobility at cervical level 7 because 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are not moving. And hypermobility will cause irritation and inflammation. That area would not need to be mobilized. What would need to be mobilized are cervical levels 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And cervical level 7 would in fact need to be stabilized because it has become hypermobile by compensating for a lack of motion through the cervical spine levels 2 through 6. The second principle is looking at range of motion and seeing where there is a compensation for that range of motion. The second principle is when we're looking at open and closed chain motion. Because when we look at open and closed chain motion, our observation and our palpation will occur at different locations. For open chain motion, the observation of the motion will be distal to proximal, meaning that you will begin your observation at the most distal joints that share muscle attachments for the action being performed. So in this picture, we're looking at dorsiflexion, and this is open chain dorsiflexion. And the motion is occurring, typically we believe, at the ankle. And what we see is that there are muscles or structures of the toes that also cross the ankle. So we will begin our observation at the toes. And when we look at this individual, what we will see is that the toes really have no problem moving in toward dorsiflexion. Okay, in fact, they are compensating for the motion. And what we see here is that there's some knee bending on the left leg. And what I would say is that depending on when that knee started to bend, that would be the location of the dysfunction. So it looks to be that this person's structural or non-structural dysfunctions begin right at the metatarsals because he is able to bring the toes back in toward the direction of dorsiflexion. However, the metatarsals are not lifting in the direction of dorsiflexion, and he is compensating by bending his knee. For closed chain activity, the motion begins proximal to distal, beginning at the most proximal joint that shares a muscle attachment for the action being performed. And in this individual, if we looked at dorsiflexion again, dorsiflexion, the most proximal place that a muscle attachment is that shares the ankle would be at the knee. The gastroc crosses the knee joint posteriorly and attaches to the femoral condyles. So in this case, we would begin our observation and palpation at the knee, meaning does the upper tibia come forward into dorsiflexion, followed by the middle of the tibia and fibula, I should say, down to the ankle, and then through the toes. And if we look at these pictures that are in front of us, when we look at the picture, we notice that this person is actually compensating for a lack of ability to squat by externally rotating his hips. So he probably lacks flexion of the hips and dorsiflexion at the foot and ankle. Versus the picture on the right, where this individual has no difficulty coming down into a full squat. He has beautiful dorsiflexion at the foot and ankle, allowing him to come down into a full squat without compensation.